So you might be feeling kind of frustrated or maybe even a little disappointed after searching in the library catalogs. You might just not be turning up a lot of information about your topic. And that doesn't mean you have a bad topic. It just means that one thing you need to do is spend a little bit of time finding the best resources for researching your topic. And it might be that library catalogs and books maybe aren't particularly fruitful for your topic, but research articles and databases might be. So in these next lessons, we're going to be looking at specifically databases and searching for some journal articles and looking at the different searches you can do to find those. So we're going to be showing some additional search strategies here too. We're going to be looking at a strategy called Boolean searching, using Boolean connectors, and also using a syntax or a structure we call nesting. We're going to be, again, looking at the field searching and then also looking at some of the database limiters available to help you control your search. We'll, again, be looking at controlled vocabulary or subject terms. And finally, we're also going to look at something called truncation and wildcards. And these are shortcuts that you can use in databases to help you control and refine your results. So I am back on the library homepage. Again, this is our portal to all of the resources that we're going to need. In the past videos, we looked at the library catalogs. This time we're going to use the main navigation menu to go to our databases and indexes. And this link brings us to an alphabetical list of all the resources that we subscribe to, about 200 electronic databases that we pay for you to have access to. And there's a few different ways to navigate this page if you know a particular database name. Maybe your professor told you to go search in JSTOR specifically. You can navigate to those databases alphabetically. If you're not sure where to start, we have what we call general databases or multidisciplinary databases. And these are resources that have a lot of different topics all in one place. So they can be a great starting point, but they're not necessarily going to have a strong disciplinary focus. But what I would suggest doing is looking at this menu of databases by subject. So this is a pull-down menu. It just gives some broad categories to help you get started. So I'm thinking about my research question of how do graduate students experience socialization? And there are a couple of subject areas I could look at for that. I could do maybe education. I might also think of something like psychology or sociology, and those would be under the social sciences. But for now, let's start with the education databases and see where that gets us. So this brings up a separate page of databases. At the top here, you'll see databases that are specifically related to education. And ERIC stands for Educational Resources Information Center. That's the primary research database in the field of education. So again, one of the first things you'll want to discover is what are the primary resources in your discipline? What are the major databases that people in your discipline use to research their topics? So there's two ERIC options here. One says public, and it has a little open access icon. So this means that this is the same type of website that anybody could get to going to Google. And then there's ERIC provided through EBSCO, which is one of our databases. And I just want to mention the difference between these two, because you'll see this distinction sometimes. The open access databases are free, they're open to the public. They don't have all of the content that our subscription databases do. So if you use the ERIC database through EBSCO, you're going to have access to additional journal articles and additional subscription content that the free version doesn't have. So I'm going into ERIC. The first thing I always do is go to the advanced search menu, because this is what allows me to build a more powerful search right off the bat. And so when we did our graduate student socialization, we did kind of a broad search in catalogs. In databases, you can be more specific right up front just because there's so much information in these. So we're going to start with something called Boolean connectors, actually. So remember, I'm putting my exact phrases in quotation marks. And remember I said in a couple of earlier lessons, you want to think about other words you could use to talk about this topic. So what if I say graduate students or doctoral students? And I'm putting both of those phrases in quotation marks. So in this search, I'm telling the database I will look for, or I will accept either the phrase graduate students or the phrase doctoral students. Either one is good with me. And then we have this and here. And that and is telling me that I can add additional concepts that I want to search for. So maybe I want to search for socialization, or I'm interested maybe in experience. like the graduate student experience, or maybe I'm even interested in relationships as part of the socialization process. So you can see that I've just done something, first of all, called using Boolean connectors, using these connectors to essentially perform multiple searches at once. So my synonyms are put together with or, and the different concepts are combined with and. So this is the basics of Boolean searching. But then you'll notice too, all of the words that I put in a single search box, that's what we call nesting. That's a process of keeping things together, kind of like an order of operations, so that it tells the database how to process all of those connectors that you're using. So you might want to play around with using or in between your synonyms, using and to connect your different concepts, and that's a way, again, of doing kind of a shortcut, allowing the database to search for multiple different words all at once while still controlling the different concepts that you want to see in your results. So I'll click search, and now we have 7,000 results, whereas when we searched the library catalogs, we were getting in the hundreds. So you can see already we're going to have a lot of work to do to sort through this field. These results are going to be very specific. So one easy way to cut down your results is to add another concept to your search. Make your search more specific. Maybe in this case, I'm interested in women. And I can rerun that search, and now I'm down to 400. And another thing you can use too is the database limiters. Look at some of the limits that the database gives you and use those. So maybe I'm just interested in peer review publications, and maybe I'm just interested in publications from the past 10 years. So I just used the database limiters to help me control some of the results that I get. And now I have a more focused list of results to look at. The other thing that I can do as well, right now we just put these words into the search box and then just kind of search for them wherever. The words could appear in the abstract, in the subject terms, possibly in the full text of the article. We could be a little bit more strategic about, though. Maybe I just want to look for these words appearing somewhere in the abstract. So you might get some results where the word appears maybe once on the 10th page of an article. But if the word actually appears in the abstract of an article, in the summary, you know the article is going to be focused more specifically on those topics. So maybe I can use that. I can use the database field searching as a way to help me control my results even more. And now I'm down to an even more refined list of results. So we've just done a few different things. We've used Boolean connectors, and we've nested them to give us some flexibility in our search. We've used the database fields as ways to limit our search, to search for terms within particular fields. And we've used some of the database limiters. So those are just several different strategies you can use. And remember, this is just one database interface, but all of the databases that you search are going to have similar functionalities. It might just look a little bit different. So your challenge as a researcher is going to be finding your primary research sources, your main research resources for your discipline, and then figuring out how to take these strategies and adapt them into that interface, because most of these options are going to be there. So finally, let's look at how would you actually access these articles if you found some that you wanted to read. So you'll notice a few different things linked here. This first says request through interlibrary loan. So I might click on this title. This is the article's record. It gives me more information about the title. I can use these descriptors, which is this database's way of saying subject terms, as an additional place to search for different types of keywords. I can search for them as subject terms. I can run a different search. I can also email this article to myself or to a colleague. I can export this article to a citation management system, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. I can put this abstract in a print-friendly format. I can create a permalink, which is a permanent or durable URL if you want to share this with somebody. So these databases are going to have different tools to enable you to share these articles. But usually, if there is an article available in a database, it should appear somewhere on the record, usually with a PDF icon. But in this case, this is just telling me to request this article through interlibrary loan. So, like I said in an earlier video, interlibrary loan is free. For articles especially, it's very fast. There's usually less than a 3 business day turnaround, and the articles are delivered to you electronically. So don't let this request through interlibrary loan icon turn you away from using this article because it's just going to add a couple of days, but it's a free way to get the resources that you needed. You might see something that says linked full text or find full text. And that just means that these articles aren't in this database, but they're going to be in another database. And so if I click find full text, it's going to link me out into a different database that does have the full text of that article. So here we are in a different database, and I would just click download full text, again looking for the PDF icon. And finally, you might see articles too where the PDF full text is linked directly to the article. So I just wanted to show you the different icons you can look for that are going to tell you how to access the articles once you found them in the databases. So just to recap, different search strategies, again, will bring you different sets of results or help you control what can be an overwhelming field of results. And that these different strategies will work in different databases. So you just have to be a little flexible about taking these concepts and trying them in a new interface.